What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. This is Chu here from Choose to Explore, where I teach you to see the world and save a dollar. So today I'll be telling you guys all about my last experience flying with TAP Portugal. I flew here from Newark to Lisbon, Portugal, with my final destination being Senegal. So I'll give you guys all about my experience. It's my first time flying here, especially flying during the pandemic. I am in the airport. I am socially distanced, that's why I do have my mask off, but it is the pandemic when I'm flying right now. So as I said earlier, this was my first time flying with TAP Portugal, but I had a pretty good experience. Typically when I do fly from the United States to Europe, I fly with Norwegian, but they had a recent announcement that they're stopping flights intercontinental from the US to Europe. So a lot of people will be flying with TAP Portugal, and I'm going to give you guys a lot of the information you need to know before you go. The most important thing that you would want to know is safety, especially flying during the pandemic. What precautions are they taking to ensure your safety? I'm only going to talk about my experience on the airline, but as soon as I walked in, I was greeted with sanitizing wipes. Everybody on the airline, including staff and passengers, had to wear a mask, and they enforced this pretty thoroughly. Also, the flight was pretty socially distanced. There was not too many passengers close to each other, but it also is very difficult to say that because my flight was pretty empty. Because this flight was empty, me and my two friends each had our own row, and this allowed us to really lay down and sleep on the flight. I'm really unsure if they did this because the flight was empty. Overall, I felt really safe flying with them, but we'll see. I have a couple more flights, and I'll let you know if this changes with some of those smaller aircrafts. The second topic that I'm going to touch on is the baggage policy. Now, to really know and understand the baggage policy, you first have to understand which class you're flying. And their classes include discount, basic, classic, plus, executive, and I think they also have an executive plus, and each one of these tiers have a different baggage policy. So flying with discount, you are only allowed hand baggage. Now me personally, I did fly with this hand baggage. It's a 40-liter book bag, but some of my friends who I did go with and also flew discount had a carry-on suitcase as well as a duffel bag and received no problems or questioning about that. Now discount doesn't include a check bag, but for an additional fee you can get the check bag. Now basic does include a check bag plus a carry-on, and the next tier up from that is classic. And for intercontinental travel, they do allow up to 2 check bags plus your hand baggage. I believe the next tier up from that is plus, and for intercontinental travel they do include 3 check bags, and for their premier class, the executive, that does include 2 oversized check bags. Majority of the flights that are taking place intercontinentally, meaning from the United States to Europe, do have a stop in Portugal. Majority of these flights are red-eye, meaning overnight flights. I think a great touch that they had included pillows, blankets, and headphones. And the headphones were really good because you needed to plug in headphone jacks into the TV. I know a lot of people now use AirPods or Bluetooth headphones, so it was good to actually have a headphone with wires to connect to the TV. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is that onboard entertainment. So one thing that surprised me were the plethora of different options that they had for their onboard entertainment. They had a lot of really good classic movies, as well as new movies and things that I really wanted to see that weren't on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, or any of those. And from that same standpoint, they had television shows, documentaries, or just some things for you to learn about Portuguese culture and people. Also included in the onboard entertainment is Wi-Fi. Now, I'm unsure if this is standard, but this is one of the first flights that I've been on that actually had Wi-Fi included for free. And this is just me saying the free Wi-Fi is not amazing by any means, but it allows me to text, check emails, and basic things. However, for streaming, downloading movies, anything like that, you're not going to be able to do it with the Wi-Fi. But it is a nice touch just to keep people updated on where I am in the air. Another good option that they did have is with food. So I didn't pre-select my meal. However, the airline did ask me if I wanted the fish or the chicken option. I actually had both. I preferred the chicken option, but the fish wasn't too bad either. This meal also included juice, soda or water, coffee, tea, whatever you preferred. And because this was a red-eye flight, about an hour and a half before we landed, we did have an option for snacks such as sandwiches, granola bars, coffee, tea, or any of the juices and sodas that you wanted. And TAP Portugal also has a lot of different special meals that they can accommodate. Now these have to be booked ahead in your reservation, but they have a lot of different options. These include lactose, Hindu, child meals, gluten-free, Muslim, low salt, low fat, low calorie, baby meals, vegetarian, kosher, or diabetic meal. But what also is a good feature is if these flights are packed, you do have the incline feature, which allows you to incline straight back. Now, one thing that is a big bummer is traveling during the COVID-19 pandemic, they do not have the stopover program. Well, they do have the stopover program, but at the current moment, Americans are not allowed to leave. So we originally booked this trip with plans to go out and explore Portugal, and it was a great way to do so. TAP Portugal stopover program allows you to go out and explore the country without paying any additional fees. If you saw any of my other videos on layovers and stopovers, you could see that there's a lot of different airlines that do it, and TAP Portugal are one of the airlines that are leading the way with this. So unfortunately, we just had to stay in the airport and wait the layover. But I did hear some words that the European Union will allow Americans to start traveling throughout Europe as early as this summer. So as of right now, we can't leave the airport, but hopefully going forward, you can. So overall, I had a really good experience flying with TAP Portugal. Even though it was a red-eye flight, it was pretty empty. We were allowed to really lay down and relax. We had all our own rows. The food was pretty good, and overall great customer service. So I'd highly recommend flying with TAP Portugal, especially right now because they have a lot of cheap flights going. So do yourself a favor, cop that flight, and be out of this country.